Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to have been asked to give these brief remarks today at the Kian Smith Gold Roadshow, a forum that I believe is happening at a defining moment for Africa. Across history, gold has always been more than a metal. It has been a measure of trust, a store of value, and a symbol of sovereignty. Yet, while Africa holds abundant deposits of this timeless resource, its true potential as a pillar of financial stability and economic transformation remains only partly realized on the continent. Today, Africa produces over 25% of the world's industrial gold production. Ghana ranks as the sixth largest producer globally, and countries like South Africa, Sudan, Mali, Burkina Faso, Guinea, Cote d'Ivoire, and Tanzania are among the world's top 20 producers. Yet, collectively, Africa holds barely 2% of global gold reserves. That paradox of high production but low reserves, however, tells a deeper story. We extract the value but seldom retain it. Our gold leaves our shores, but the financial trust and security it represents seldom stays. To move from extraction to empowerment, therefore, Africa must see gold not merely as a commodity for export, but as a strategic financial asset, one capable of strengthening national currencies, stabilizing reserves, and securing its sovereignty. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, we are living through what can aptly be described as a new golden era in the global financial system. In 2024, gold surged to an unprecedented high of approximately $2,610 per ounce, a year-on-year increase of about 25%. By the end of October this year, prices had climbed even further, approaching $4,500 per ounce. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, this is not a typical commodity rally. It is a structural revaluation of gold's role in the global economy. Around the world today, central banks, from China, the world's largest gold producer, to Poland, whose domestic production is negligible, have accelerated gold accumulation at a pace unseen in modern financial history. Their objective goes far beyond speculative gain. They are converting economic uncertainty into strategic insurance. They are buying credibility, sovereignty, and resilience, the intangible pillars that underpin national financial security in an age of global unpredictability. Indeed, the post-Second World War consensus that once supported multilateralism, open markets, collective security, and cooperative development is visibly unraveling. We are witnessing the rise of economic nationalism, a resurgence of protectionist industrial policies, and the weaponization of trade and financial instruments. Global supply chains are fragmenting, geopolitical blocs are hardening, and trust, once the currency of diplomacy and international commerce, is eroding. The international order is no longer anchored by shared rules, but increasingly shaped by strategic competition and asymmetric power dynamics. In this environment of inflationary pressures, currency instability, and geopolitical realignment, gold has reasserted itself as the most credible store of value, outliving cycles, ideologies, and currencies. For us in Africa, however, this global rediscovery of gold is not new wisdom. It is a return to a truth Africans have long understood. For centuries, African civilizations demonstrated a sophisticated grasp of gold's dual function as a medium of trust and a foundation for economic stability. One of the most compelling illustrations is the Mali Empire under Mansa Musa in the 14th century, which at its height controlled an estimated 40 to 60% of the world's gold supply. Musa is regarded as the richest man ever to have lived. His wealth was, however, neither accidental nor merely material. It was the product of deliberate resource governance, anchored in the control of gold-rich regions, taxation of trans-Saharan trade, and reinvestment of wealth into learning centers, trade infrastructure, and urban development. This legacy offers a powerful reminder that Africa once defined the global gold economy. Gold was never merely ornamental, it was a mechanism for statecraft, currency stability, and intergenerational prosperity. Today, as inflation erodes purchasing power and confidence in traditionally dominant currencies and systems falters globally, Africa is once again turning towards gold with strategic intent and economic pragmatism. For example, Ghana's central bank has launched a domestic gold purchase program to strengthen reserve assets. Zimbabwe has introduced the ZiG, a gold-backed currency to restore monetary credibility. Tanzania and other African states are also expanding gold's role in their reserve frameworks and monetary systems. Egypt is developing the framework for building a gold city in Cairo. These are, however, not isolated decisions. They are signals of a continental shift towards greater financial sovereignty. Gold is re-emerging as a strategic anchor, an asset that restores policy autonomy, buffers economies against gold shocks, and reinforces trust in national currencies and institutions. In essence, the world is awakening to what Africa has always known, that gold is not merely a commodity. It is a strategic instrument of economic resilience, a hedge against strategic risk, and a timeless store of trust.
Yeah.
The current movement, therefore, presents Africa with an opportunity not just to participate in this global gold renaissance, but to shape it, leveraging our natural endowment and historical mastery to build a more sovereign, stable, and prosperous financial future. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, for gold to truly serve as a bridge between trust, value, and economic sovereignty, Africa must act boldly and deliberately in three key ways. First, we must retain and maximize value across the gold value chain here at home. Africa can no longer afford the paradox of exporting raw gold only to re-import refined bullion, jewelry, and investment-grade products at a premium. If gold is to underpin our financial resilience, then refining, assaying, hallmarking, certification, and beneficiation must occur on African soil, in Accra, in Johannesburg, in Lagos, in Cairo, and across our mining corridors. And we are beginning to see encouraging progress. Ghana and Burkina Faso have commissioned new refineries, while South Africa's Rand refinery continues to stand as a continental benchmark in scale, governance, and global market access. But these are early steps. To unlock transformational and lasting value, Africa requires a coordinated, continent-wide gold ecosystem that integrates refineries, quality assurance laboratories, vaulting and custodial infrastructure, logistic trading programs and platforms, and export channels. Only then can we keep wealth circulating within African economies rather than transferring it abroad. Every ounce refined within Africa multiplies value, accelerates industrialization, creates skilled employment, builds investor confidence, and strengthens national currencies. In doing so, gold shifts from a mere extractive commodity to a strategic development asset. In this regard, Nigeria offers compelling examples. Tor explorations place Nigeria firmly on the global mining map as the country's first listed gold producer and is now expanding its gold footprint both domestically and across West Africa. Complementing this upstream success, Nigeria's Kian Smith refinery is now coming online, a model of integrated value chain development. It is supported by an independent ISO-certified assay laboratory, an independent vaulting and custodial management, and an international LBMA off-taker. But its significance extends beyond national pride. It reflects a holistic strategy that connects the mining economy to the financial economy. Kian Smith's structured gold buying plan integrate artisanal and small-scale miners, a critical and often marginalized segment of our mining sector, and is now onboarding large-scale producers to increase refining capacity and sustain operations. Critically, it has stimulated a domestic gold-to-market pathway from mining to retail, accessible to both individuals and financial institutions. This innovative Sanu digital gold product has further democratized access by digitizing gold and enabled fractional ownership. Accordingly, as the world moves towards the tokenization of real-world assets, Nigeria already has such a product functioning in its market, positioning us along with emerging global trends. Furthermore, Kian Smith's partnership with the Alternative Bank and the listing of digital gold tokens on the Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange demonstrates the power of linking the gold value chain with formal financial systems. This integration provides a blueprint for how gold-backed financial instruments can strengthen monetary systems, expand savings and wealth creation options for citizens, and reinforce economic resilience. I believe more initiatives of this nature with gold value integration projects that connect mining, refining, digitization, financial services, and capital markets will deepen and mature Africa's gold ecosystem. They will also provide tangible frameworks for governments, regulators, and financial institutions across the continent to adopt and scale. If gold is truly to serve as a bridge between trust, value, and economic sovereignty, then Africa must take a bold second step to institutionalize gold as a continent financial asset. We must begin to envision and prepare to operationalize an African gold bank, a continental reserve institution mandated to pool a portion of Africa's gold reserves to support monetary stability, trade settlement, and financial resilience across the African continental free trade area. Such an institution will reduce Africa's dependence on external reserve currencies, enable intra-African trade settlements backed by real value, strengthen regional financial integration, and anchor an African unit of account in tangible, trusted value. Already, the foundations for this are already being laid. Afreximbank and other African financial institutions have begun advancing frameworks for gold-backed trade instruments, digital payment systems, and reserve pooling mechanisms, providing the technical scaffolding required for such an institution. Notably, Afreximbank is actively considering the establishment of a dedicated African gold bank, signaling a strategic shift towards leveraging Africa's gold reserves for continental monetary security. Institutionalizing gold in this manner will represent a historical reimagining of Africa's economic architecture, transforming our natural endowment from a resource of external extraction into a shared instrument of continental financial power. It will shift Africa from being a passive price taker in the global gold market to becoming a co-architect of a new Africa-centered financial order. Finally, and perhaps more importantly, we must build trust through transparency. Gold, by its very nature, symbolizes purity and clarity, and our policies on the continent must reflect the same. For gold to underpin confidence in our financial systems, citizens must know how gold is managed, how reserves are safeguarded, and how gold-backed instruments are deployed to strengthen economic stability and opportunity. Transparency, accountability, and sound institutional governance are what transform gold from a precious metal into a trusted medium of national and continental confidence. And confidence is everything because it is the true foundation of value. Without trust, no currency holds, no market grows, and no nation prospers. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, let me emphasize that if Africa anchors its currencies in the trust that gold commands, refines and retains value from its own resource, and cooperates across borders to leverage gold as a shared financial reserve, then we will have built not only resilience but sovereignty. Gold has the potential to be for Africa what oil was for the Middle East, but this time grounded in sustainability, stability, and self-determination. Not wealth that comes with volatility and external dependency, but wealth that endures, empowers, and transforms. Our gold must work for Africa. It must build confidence in our currencies, credibility in our markets, and capital for our development. We must envision an Africa where our gold no longer glitters in vaults abroad, but shines as a beacon of prosperity, innovation, and financial independence here at home. That, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, is the true bridge between trust, value, and sovereignty. And that is the golden path to an Africa that defines its own worth, not in promises or potential alone, but in the purity of its purpose and the strength of its vision. Thank you very much for listening.